I'd been stuck in a toxic marriage with Mark, a self-centered and controlling man. After giving birth to our daughter Lily, he hit me with a ridiculous demand for a divorce, insulting me and our child. My name is Sarah, and I'm 37 years old. I'd like to share a story with you about the ups and downs of my life. It all began when I got married at 27 and had my first child at 29. You see, when I was single, I had a stable job as a web designer at a company. I was content with my life and didn't really have a strong desire to get married. But life had different plans for me. I was set up on a blind date with a guy named Mark through a family acquaintance. Mark was the same age as me and worked as a salesperson for a big company. He came on pretty strong right from the beginning and proposed before long. I ended up quitting my job and becoming a homemaker as he wanted. Little did I know that this decision would change my life drastically. It didn't take me long to realize Mark's true nature. First of all, he couldn't detach from his parents. Later on, I found out that our marriage was primarily to please them, and anyone would be okay as long as it made them happy. So he often went to see them on weekends, leaving me alone at home. On top of that, Mark was pretty self-centered. He was raised as an only child and was spoiled by his parents. I had to prepare a fresh towel in advance when he took a shower, and if I ever forgot, he got extremely angry. In the morning, I had to lay out his suit and everything he needed on the bed. Dinner had to have at least 5 different vegetables, and frozen food or pre-made dishes were a big no-no. Not only that, but I always had to keep the entire house in an immaculate state. I had to vacuum and mop every morning and evening. Of course, he never lifted a finger to help with any of this despite my efforts, because I was his wife. Soon after I became pregnant, both families were overjoyed, and I hoped that this would be the catalyst for him to change a bit. I was completely wrong. When I had morning sickness and couldn't do housework as usual, he got furious and berated me for not being able to do what everyone else could. As I did my best with chores while my belly grew, he just played games on his phone. Not only was there never a sign of him wanting to help, but he also seemed to have no awareness of becoming a father. I gave birth to a baby girl named Lily. My expectations were in vain, and his selfishness grew even worse after the birth. When I returned home from the hospital, I was greeted with a huge pile of dishes he hadn't done any housework at all while I was out. I had to juggle taking care of the newborn while straightening up the house. As usual, he never showed any gesture of appreciation whatsoever. On the contrary, he said that I should have been able to finish something as basic as that in no time. Furthermore, he mocked me about my post-pregnancy weight gain. "Hey, meatball," answered me. He looked at me with a contemptuous gaze. According to my doctor, my weight gain was entirely within the standard range. I had planned to start a diet at some point, but this really got on my nerves. He wouldn't help with housework and looked down on me after giving birth. I finally yelled at him, and he angrily stood up, almost knocking over his chair. "Who the heck are you talking to? I'm the breadwinner here. You, as my wife, should just do as I say. Besides, anyone can handle housework. Don't act so high and mighty." I was so furious that I couldn't even respond. From then on, he constantly made fun of my appearance. "Hey, Sarah, is dinner ready? Oh, here comes the sumo wrestler. Do you even know what losing weight means?" He mocked me as he pleased. I had to endure it because if I said anything back, I thought that chairs might start flying like in a wrestling brawl. Above all, I had to protect Lily. He didn't help with housework or childcare at all. Taking care of the crying baby, changing diapers, and doing household chores all at once was tough. I went through each day with no makeup and wearing just my glasses, looking completely worn out. I had no time for anything. There were even days when I could only go to the bathroom once in the morning. Still, I encouraged myself, thinking that this was what being a mother meant. One day, while Mark was criticizing my appearance as usual, he suddenly brought up divorce. "You've become a mess ever since you had Lily. Let's get a divorce. I like the younger girl from the office now. By the way, Lily looks just like you, chubby like a meatball." "What did you just say?" I couldn't believe my ears. "You've been overweight for a long time. I can't take it anymore. I like slender women. Pack your stuff and get out." His argument was completely absurd. What nonsense are you talking about? I can't do that. Confused, I immediately contacted his parents. "Mark wants a divorce because I had a child and lost my looks. Can you please put some sense into him?" Contrary to my front state, my mother-in-law remained indifferent. If he said so, it must be true. It's evidence that you haven't made enough effort. What have you been doing? You shouldn't have sat my son. I have no choice but to despair. Get out already. I have no interest in someone who's given up being a woman. How are Lily and I supposed to live from now on? I don't care. You should learn to stand on your own feet. Bye-bye, Mark, Mom, and baby. I had reached my limit with his repeated insults. That very day, I decided to leave with Lily. I didn't cry. To be precise, I couldn't even cry. I was rather outraged by him, who had insulted not only me, but also our own daughter. With nowhere else to go, I turned to my parents for help. They had my younger brother and his wife living with them, and they had a baby of their own, roughly the same age as Lily. I thought it would be a burden for them if we moved in, but I had no other option. When I asked if we could stay for a while, both my parents and my brother's family warmly welcomed us. I shared the whole story with them and mentioned my marriage was over. They encouraged me to stay as long as I needed. And that was when I finally shed tears. I couldn't stop crying, feeling their warm support. My brother's wife, Emma, made a suggestion. You probably need a lawyer now. I used to work as a secretary at a law firm before I got married. A friend of mine still works there, so I can introduce you. Thanks to her, I met a competent lawyer a few days later. Sophie was in her early 40s with her own divorce experience, and she was very empathetic and helpful. During our consultations, we had several rounds of divorce negotiations, but we couldn't reach an agreement easily. Mark refused to pay child support. Sophia, after a brief preamble about wanting to tell me her personal opinion, said, "Your husband is arguing that you've neglected your duties as a woman and prioritized the child. He's like a selfish child in a man's body. He hired you to please his parents, and controlling you is the goal of his marriage. I don't want to discourage you from pursuing child support, but I also think it might be best to completely sever our ties now." Both he and his parents are unreasonable people. Instead of dealing with them, I think looking toward the future is more constructive. She spoke seriously, and something inside me snapped. The reasons for divorce were so flimsy, and the insult he hurled at Lily at the brink of separation was too much. Dealing with him any longer was unbearable. I wanted to be free from him as soon as possible. I made up my mind. I was determined to raise Lily on my own and find happiness. Beyond this point, from now on, you need to work hard to support your daughter. Are you really ready? I sure am, I replied firmly, making a commitment to face the future head-on. When the divorce was filed, I resumed my work as a freelance web designer. Fortunately, it was a popular field and I started getting steady work. Even as a freelancer, I worked tirelessly, designing day and night and juggling nursing and childcare. Along the way, as a freelancer, I launched a website and made full use of social media for marketing. As a result of my efforts, I was able to earn roughly the same income as Mark in about a year. Moreover, I won an excellent award in a web design contest, which brought in even more work. Then I started my own design company. During the times when I couldn't manage everything on my own, Emma helped as a secretary. I also had the assistance of part-time employees, allowing the company to run smoothly. As the business grew, I realized the need for sales efforts. So my brother, who had previously worked for a major advertising agency, quit his job and became the sales manager. With his natural business acumen, he built on the social media-focused marketing I had been doing and expanded into advertising using traditional media. The performance soared in no time. As my company gained recognition, I started paying more attention to my appearance. At the time of the separation, I was always struggling with no makeup and just wearing my glasses. While my determination remained the same, being in the position of a CEO, I couldn't help but be conscious of the perception of my employees and clients. So I graduated from the plain look, invested in branded suits and bags, got a neat professional hairstyle, and kept my makeup subtle enough not to appear overbearing. I realized that my confidence and pride as a business owner were reflected in my appearance. One day after work, I went to a restaurant with Emma. It had a great atmosphere and was one of my favorites. The staff were friendly and always recommended the daily specials, so choosing the dish was easy. Above all, despite being in an upscale restaurant, it didn't have a snobbish atmosphere, which I liked. While we were chatting at our table, I noticed a familiar face approaching. It was Mark. You seem to be doing well. He brought water to our table, wearing a big smile on his face. He was working as a waiter at this restaurant. He acted overly friendly, unlike a typical waiter, and the arrogance he had before our divorce flushed through my mind, making me feel nauseated. "Oh, it's you. You seem to be doing fine too," I responded with a smile. After the divorce, I had heard through the grapevine that he had lost his job due to his relationships with female colleagues. I hadn't heard much about his whereabouts since then, but my relatives who frequented this restaurant recently informed me that he had started working as a waiter there. Emma and I had come there out of curiosity, pretending not to know anything. "You're looking great." His attitude, as if he had forgotten the way he had ridiculed me in the past, immediately put me in battle mode. "You're annoying. Get out of my sight." "Come on, don't be so cold. You're running your own business, right? I was surprised to see an article in the magazine. Let me work for you, huh?" "I'm not quite sure what you're talking about." Oh, come on, we used to be married, you know. How about giving it another try? Quit joking around. Go away. You're ruining my dinner. I made a showing gesture with my hand, and immediately he started fuming. How dare you give me an attitude? The one without the right attitude here is you. I'm a customer. What the heck? A woman like you acting all high and mighty. It pisses me off. Don't forget you used to live off me. He had been divorced by me and fired from his job, but showed absolutely no remorse. It was amazing how people like him existed in the world. I missed the exit he needed. I remained strangely calm as the argument with Mark escalated. It was tempting to let anger take over, but I had learned to control my emotions after our tumultuous past. This newfound strength allowed me to respond firmly, even in the face of his outrageous behavior. You should learn to stand on your own feet. I smiled at him, echoing his mother's words from the past. Mark was dragged away by the restaurant's security, wailing and causing a scene. According to Charlotte, the owner of the restaurant, he had been hopping from one job to another after he was fired from his previous job. She had pitied him and hired him as a waiter, but he ended up repaying that kindness with inappropriate behavior, resulting in his dismissal. Seeing Mark's humiliating exit was bittersweet. On one hand, I felt a sense of vindication, knowing that he was experiencing the consequences of his actions. On the other hand, it was sad to see that he hadn't changed and continued to make poor choices. Back home, I shared the evening's bizarre encounter with Emma and my family, and we had a good laugh about it. Emma, who had been a tremendous support throughout my journey, continued to play a crucial role in my life. She had become more like a sister to me, and our bond grew stronger with each passing day. My company continued to thrive, and the hard work paid off. What's more, I would be graduating from being single soon. I have met another entrepreneur with a divorce history at a cross-industry networking event. We connected as fellow souls with similar scars and quickly became good friends. He, like me, had a child, and we both had families who supported our decisions. As we continued to strengthen our bonds with our children and families, we decided to start a new family together by creating a company. We believed that together, we could create a better future for ourselves and our children. I've learned the meaning of you reap what you sow. If there is someone out there feeling like they're in the middle of a dark tunnel with no end in sight, I want to say this: there's always an exit. There is no night without a dawn. Life may throw unexpected challenges your way, but with determination and the right support system, you can find your way to a brighter future. So I continued to work hard, both for my daughter Lily and the new family I was building. And as I looked ahead, I was filled with hope and determination, ready to embrace whatever life had in store for me. And that's the story of my life. A story of resilience, perseverance, and the belief that no matter how tough the journey, there's always a way to find the light at the end of the tunnel.